So question number four, I think this is now. So people ask me about woo-woo skills and why do people pop their feet and why do people hop when they get pushed and stuff like this. And because I train fighters and our approach is to be realistic, and we also talk about internal a lot, which we more or less talk about as hidden skills, right? Is the term I like to use more. But is it real? Isn't it real? What's going on? Is it fake? People asking all these questions, right? The answer is both, right? Some of it's fake, right? Some of it's real, right? And if it's real, what is it, and why is it working, and what does it do? Is it applicable to combat, right? These are questions I get asked all the time, right? So it's quite simple, really, right? But people make it sound so esoteric that people think it's bullshit, right? But actually, there is a valid point of what's going on and a valid point of why they do it. Now, if I press Locky just with force, right? I just use force, which is my upper body force. He can feel that. Right? So this is just force on force, right? So we meet in the middle and we're resisting each other. So it's very hard for me to push him. If I sink and relax, he's pushing on top of my center. I get that reaction force. The pressure goes to the ground more, and then yes, so I can sink into it, and then I can pulse it out. So that's a reaction force. The higher level reaction force is when I let it expand itself, right? This is what people talk about sinking the chi or activating the dantian. This is because they're so good at letting the chi sink or letting the muscles sink and relax. When it hits the floor, instead of having to force the reaction force myself and pulse it, which is very important because when you strike, you have to get ballistic and strike from your body, right? You have to strike from your body. So you have to get this reaction force in your body naturally. But at a high level of control, when someone pushes you, you can actually let that sink into your body and it will actually feed back by itself like a sponge. So like if you have a Swiss ball and you press it, it just expands itself, so it becomes an empty force, right? So empty force is because there's no mechanics. So when people say there's no mechanics required, this is kind of correct on one level, but it's incorrect on a combat level, because on a combat level, you still need to have the position of power. You still need to have to be able to strike someone with power and stop someone who's very ballistic and someone that's using a lot of pressure. To do that slowly is hard, right? You need to be able to do that in real time. Now we can do a lot of this in real time because we're training real time. So the idea of people hopping back, what's that about? How does that fit into it? The problem is when I sink properly and expand you and pop you back, if I do that quickly, your feet find it very hard to find this placement because you're going to travel back. So often what happens is people do it from a position where it's a side position, so you're already twisted. Now here, if I sink and I expand from here, I can push him quite far. Now Lockie's strong and heavy, right, and he's ready, so it's kind of a little hard to do when someone's ready, but if I have him off balance, so if we go light off balance, he's light off balance, I've got his balance. If I push him with my upper body, he can feel that pressure and it's just a push, right? If I get to here and I expand, it kind of lifts you underneath your feet a little bit more, right? So when you're underneath someone's feet, you get a bigger movement. Now if we do it in movement where I'm striking here and I'm striking, I get to here and I expand, often you get this where his feet has to move because otherwise he's going to trip over his feet. So a lot of times when people get that expansion, people hop back just to stop their knees getting run over because otherwise they're going to step over their feet and fall over. So if someone pushes you really fast, if I step in, for example, and I push him really fast, if he doesn't hop back a little bit, he can fall over. Now, number one, falling over is problematic. You can get hurt. Staggering back and twisting knees is a problem, right? Also, time-wise, if you're doing it just in, say, Tuesday, he pushes towards me, and I pop him here and he comes back again, I pop him and he comes back again, we're not wasting time. If I pop him hard and he went back all the way back and travelled right back, came back, we're wasting a lot of time. So a lot of times people just get in the habit of whenever they feel an expansion, they hop because they feel the expansion. But actually, it's not hokey because they're feeling it, but they make it hokey because they overdo it too much, right? I was training for a guy the other day from another school. Every time I touched him, he hopped back, I boom, boom, boom. I thought, I haven't done anything yet. It's like he was preempting it because he's so used to hopping. So people do make it hokey and do make it fake because they overlook for it. Or as soon as they feel a tiny bit, they're just hopping. When in reality, you can counter it, right? Like if I push Lockie and he sinks, he's countered already, right? I have to find his balance. Now, as soon as I touch him, if he hops back straight away, it didn't happen because I did expand, but he didn't need to. He could sink on it. He can sink on it and he can control it. I have to take his balance again and find his balance again. Once I've got his balance, then I can pop him, right? So there is an element of it that's true, and there's an element of it that's fake, right? So some people get obsessed with it and follow it around, and some people then obviously exaggerate that, and other people have got it for real, right? So there's a few people that I look at, I think, yeah, they've definitely got skill, and people say they haven't got skill because they haven't met them or haven't trained with them. Does it work on everybody? Maybe not everybody, right? But is it a skill that's applicable to combat? Yes and no. The people that are good at it are not always saying that this is a combat skill. They're saying it's a skill. It's a skill if you understand how to use your body and how not to be tense. Now, if I tense up and I try to punch him when I'm tense, I've still got no power. I have to relax. So when I relax, and I punch and move, I'm relaxed, right? So it's teaching you to relax under pressure. So as soon as someone pressurizes you, you don't tense. You push me, I don't tense up and then lose my balance. As soon as he touches me, I relax and I find my weight. Right? So it's a legitimate skill. People are confusing the skill with a full application of combat. It's not a full application of combat. It's a skill, a required skill that you want to develop so you learn how to relax and you learn how to produce power correctly. But it's not the be-all and end-all of skill. Right? You still got punching, kicking. Even then, inside that, there's layers of different ways to do it. Right? Everybody has different methods. So, I think people obsess about one thing and make it into one big thing, and it's the be-all and end-all. It's not the be-all and end-all of fighting, and it's not the be-all and end-all of internal training, right? There's loads of different types of training you need to be doing. It's just one aspect, and it's a very good aspect if it's done properly. And there is people out there that do it very well, okay? But there's some people out there trying to make it sound like it's the be-all and end-all of all the training, and it's not that. It's just part of the training. And the people who do that often are doing it with people who can't do it themselves. But if you see good guys, they'll have good students that can also repeat it and do it. Maybe not at the same level, but they can still do it. So, for me, I don't like to dismiss things until I actually explore them and make sure I understand how they work. I've taught people from all levels of fighting. So if you're in a boxing ring or kickboxing ring, is that going to make a massive difference to your skill? Not as much as the person punching in the face, right? So you have to put it into context of what you're doing. If you're in a situation and you're in a clinch and the person pushes towards you and you expand, the reason you feel so strong is because you've got that expansion energy. So it's applicable, like my guys when they've been in competition, everybody will says to them this, they feel so powerful, so strong, but they're not stiff because they've learned to relax, they've learned to use their body properly. So you don't always see people popping across the ring because that's not what you're using it for. What you're using it for is to using it for yourself, right? Making sure you're in control of your body. When you do your throw, you don't overcommit your throw and get countered. You throw someone and you control your weight. So some of the training drills that you have in Wing Chun and in Tai Chi are designed for you to develop types of skills, and people are mistaking them skills with a fighting application. They think, how's that going to work in a fight? Well, it's not designed as the application of the fight. It's designed as a skill that you need in your art. So, yeah, hopefully that answers a bit about the woo-woo stuff, right? I think it is real in terms of what you're training, if you understand it. And there is stuff out there that's very fake. And there is some people out there that are trying to say that skill is better than other skill, and one skill is internal, one skill is external. It's nonsense. It's just layers of skill, and either you have them or you don't. And in the day, if you can't use your art in a practical way, then it's not very practical, right? So you need to be practical with your art, and you need to obviously understand how it works on multiple levels.